There's a fine line between perseverance and insanity. My name is Adam Green. This is the Brilliant Fools podcast, and I have crossed that line more times than I care to admit. See, perseverance is pursuing something and pushing through until you get there, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But perseverance is continuing and continuing and continuing on until you get that different result, right? So what is the difference between those two? I think it's probably just a lot of times a small tweak here or there. This week we're talking, or the main theme of the week is advice, and the advice that we receive, the counsel that we get from people, making sure it's good counsel and following that counsel. Continuing on, pushing through, but adjusting according to good biblically based counsel that we get and direction that we get. So adjusting things accordingly and necessarily. One of those areas in particular is a business plan. There are so many clients that I've had throughout the years that they never, not even once, came up with a business plan. It just didn't happen. And this tends to happen when it's someone who is in some sort of service-based industry that's already a known industry, and it's just kind of accepted the way that you do it, and they're not looking to grow a lot. They're not looking to get huge, but they're doing all right, right? So these are things like plumbers and electricians and tradesmen, which I've talked about a lot, but it's also things like lawyers and accountants and people like that. So I've talked about them as well too. And my particular business is an accounting business. First and foremost. That's where I started. That's what I know. And that's what I've done over the years. I know trades as well. I've done a lot of trades. I've done different types of work for sure. But the business that I started and the business that I have done things under, Greenhouse Services, that primarily at the beginning was just a tax business. And then it also started getting into some other bookkeeping, accounting, outsourced controller and CFO work, stuff like that. But I had not done a business plan. I did a few years into it, but I hadn't done a business plan. One of the main reasons for that is because it was far more detailed than I wanted to get into, which is kind of funny coming from an accounting point of view, because that's what you get into. You get into the details. That's just kind of that's expected of you, right? As an accountant, I get way into the weeds and I get bogged down with details too much. So especially more recently where I've done this outsourced controller CFO work, being able to look at more of a high level view of things, I'm much more in my element there. But then I was like, well, what really goes into a business plan? Because what I had normally seen was something like this, and I'm going to go ahead and show you with this. In fact, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make myself a little bigger there so you can see that, hopefully. That should be good. So I think you can see this business plan here. I brought this up in Google Docs as a template. So if you want something like this, go to Google Docs, search business plan template in the templates, and boom, you've got this. And it's great. It's great. Go to File, make a copy, edit the document. Okay, wonderful. Here's the thing, though. If you notice over here on this side, I don't know if it's coming up or not, but this is page 2 of 44. 44 pages. And it gets detailed in the stuff that it has. And that's just far more than I wanted to do for my little, I'm helping out a few people doing taxes kind of situation. So I was like, let me just help people out and do the taxes and not worry about this whole business plan thing. As I got into it, And I started understanding what it was that I wanted to do with the accounting business. Now it's starting to become a little more necessary for me to get that down on paper and get it organized. And that's the same thing if you're asking yourself, do I need a business plan? Um, you might, you might. I don't think it's ever a bad idea. If nothing else, it can help clarify things for sure. But there are people, again, that I've seen that have been very successful, gotten everything they wanted out of their business without ever doing a business plan. However, knowing that God is a God of order and not chaos, um, we go to something and get something in order somehow. And every business that I've seen grow, if it's just been a single person and they start adding other people, eventually they're like, okay, I need to get this in order. And that's one of the main reasons they come to somebody like an accountant. So this is what I've done, and I want to walk through with you today. I went to ChatGPT and I typed in, give me a simple business plan template. And this is what it came up with. I haven't even been through all of this. Like, the business plan I did was not all of this. What I'm wanting to do is show you that you can do it pretty simply. And it can take less than 20 minutes for you to go through and just kind of get stuff down on paper. You can hash out the details later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little accounting business that I've got, right? And I'm going to put it out here. Now, the accounting business has also added some things, right? It's added business consulting in a broader sense of that, right? So we'll go over that. Essentially, here's the business name. It's Greenhouse. It's got that E on the end of green. So Greenhouse Services, okay? And it is LLC if you want to get that detailed. Founders, me, Adam Green. Business idea in one sentence. Accounting and business consulting. One thing I've noticed over the years is it's important to identify the definitions of things. When someone says business consulting, it's a lot of times in the field that they're in. So I've heard marketing people, they talk about consulting. It's all about marketing, and that's all they're consulting. Accountants, they talk about business consulting. It's all accounting. Now, they can do a lot of things with that and track a lot of different kind of numbers and KPIs, and that's great. But then they don't get into like the leadership development kind of thing. Leadership development consultants, they'll stick in that lane and only do the leadership development. So the full seeing the whole business, that is not done very often. And I think the reason for that is because it's hard to get super deep with larger clients that way. A lot of times that really does kind of require smaller business mindset to really help the small businesses identify things and be able to coach them through. Not to mention, there's probably not a lot of people out there like me that have some accounting designation. Mine's an enrolled agent, not a CPA, enrolled agent, as well as a leadership development certification and behavioral analysis certification, and gets altitude sickness from going from 30,000 feet to down into the woods. So target market for me is going to be small businesses, and your target market may include geographic areas. It might be like I want to stick in the Atlanta area or the Dallas area or Denver or wherever it is that you are. It could be I want to stick in the state of, Colorado, Georgia, whatever. Or it could be more like this, where mine is small businesses, but I want them also to be Christian owned. That's going to be a lot of my target market. Right now, I'm not going to get too much into the industry side of things. Just want a general, and I'll tell you why for this particular one. What problem are you solving? Originally, when I started, it was compliance. It was tax compliance, right? And now it's getting past the stuck. So overcoming obstacles, right? So that there's a stuck phase that every business gets into, especially if you're a small business owner. That could be right at the start where you're trying to get going and trying to understand what things are from there. It can be as you're growing and you know you need to hire someone and you're like, okay, I don't know what to do for this, but I know I need something. It could be you have a few employees and you want to get to that next hump. And every industry has a different kind of revenue hump that you're trying to get to. But that's what that is. Okay, unique selling proposition. First of all, if you're in the certain field, you don't necessarily need a unique selling proposition. If it's a high demand field, accounting does tend to be a high demand field. There's not a lot of people that are going into it replenishing the workforce in accounting, at least in the public accounting side of things. So accounting, consulting, unique selling proposition could just be the fact that I'm in accounting. It could be that, God is my guide. It could be, it's a lot of times though, the proposition is what you're going to be telling people, how you're going to let them know, hey, this is what I'm doing, and this is why I'm different than other people that are doing this as well. But you might not need that. I mean, if you're a plumber, plumbing, my unique selling proposition is I'm here when you call, so I can get your toilet unstuck. Maybe you are on call all day, but if there's something unique about you, put it there. I'm going to say that may not be as necessary if you already know that there's a market for what you're doing. If you don't know, if you're trying to figure it out, that's different. Goals the next 12 months. This is a big one for a lot of people that have smaller businesses. Just support my family. I want to make enough to where it's going to support my family. Now, this is not a SMART goal. Those are other things. A SMART goal means, basically, I'm not going to get into the entire, what do you call it? If it's oh my goodness, not anagram, but each letter stands for something in SMART, S-M-A-R-T. And, oh my goodness. Yeah, my mind went blank on what that's called. But the SMART goal, basically, essentially, it's measurable. You got a lot of measurables in the SMART goals. You're very specific with what you're doing. You're going to be able to measure the outcomes. It's attainable. It's got a timeline to it that you've actually, so in the next 12 months, I'm going to support my family by making, if it's 100K, then that's fine. I would venture to say this 100K needs to be defined. You need to say, is it 100K of revenue? Is it 100K of net profit in your business? Is it 100K you're going to take out of the business and use for yourself? So even that, if you're going to get detailed on the goals, needs to be defined. I would really say that may be vision, and for a business plan, if I'm not presenting it to anyone, then this is not as important. So what does your business do? This is where certain things come in. So accounting, basically the broad industry there. What products or services do you offer? So I offer, it's going to be monthly bookkeeping, right? And it's going to be tax, I would say tax and audit prep. Okay. So prepare your taxes, prepare your books and things for audits, and then the consulting side of things. What makes your business unique? And there's a few things. First of all, we know that God's the basis and the foundation. That's going to be a unique selling proposition, or a unique thing. And this one, tax prep included with the bookkeeping. But there's another thing, and audit prep tends to be kind of unique anyway, but a lot of accountants do it, believe it or not. And then it's the consulting side of things. I'm going to say altitude sickness, or no altitude sickness. I don't get altitude sickness, so I can jump on a high level, 30,000 foot view of the entire forest, and I can get down into the trees and see how all that works together. I like knowing how the entire engine works together. Not just looking at the car and how fast it is, not just looking at the thread count on the bolt that holds the manifold in place. Um, that's a unique selling proposition for me, or a unique thing. Okay, great. Market analysis, target customer, um, Christian-owned small businesses. You may want to get even more niche than that. Right now, I'm not going to get more niche than that because so far I've liked all of them. I will get more niche as we go, and as I determine, hey, this is who I really like, really enjoy working with. You can make a lot more money if that's your focus. Then you can make a lot more money by getting more niche. So if you only work with doctors with surgery centers, okay, and that's all you want to work with, you're going to be very niche in that, and then you're going to be able to maybe make more money that way. But you might not want to get that way. If you're in a trade, you may want to decide if you're going to be residential or commercial. Maybe you can do both, and maybe that's easy enough for you. I don't know. Market size demand. I'm just going to say plentiful because I know that's the case in my market. If you don't know what it is for you, get out there and identify what it is, and maybe even get detailed numbers. Again, this is a broad overview. Key competitors, honestly not applicable for me. Yes, I have competitors. There are other accountants out there. I have yet to meet an accountant who sees another accountant as a competitor, a true competitor. Usually they're all working together because none of them have enough time to do everything that they need to do. And so they are happy to work with each other. So advantage over your competitors, accounting. I mean, that's just, actually, I'm going to say the same thing that I did before, and I'm going to say NA, not applicable because not competitors. So determine if you actually have competitors and you need that advantage. I could take this out of there for now. If that's something that's going to stop you from getting started, take it out of there. If there's anything you don't know, leave it blank for now. You can come back to it. It's okay. And this is simply a way that I like to do it. If you want to get super detailed into that 44 pages of a business plan, go for it. As long as it doesn't stop you from moving forward. Don't use it as an excuse. If you're getting that detailed because you have someone else you're going to work with and you're going into business with, I would highly, highly, highly recommend some legal support with that. So get a lawyer on your side to review all the documents that are going into it and make sure you've got everything ticked and tied well. I've seen some major issues come about because people did not start off that way. So now we look into some marketing and some sales strategy. How will you attract customers? I can tell you at the beginning it was word of mouth. Now it's podcast and blog, things like that. Those are going to start having some SEO effect, some search engine optimization, just because of the nature of the way that it is. It may not be absolutely optimized, but they help boost results. And then if you actually do paid ads, like maybe on Google or something like that, you've got to identify if that's what you want to do, but identify some marketing and sales strategy. I also have some business cards that I'm passing out, have some freebies that are going out with it, but this is just an example. What platforms will you use? So right now, this podcast is on YouTube and Spotify. And then, yeah, we're going to have business cards. There we go. Because they've got a QR code on them, so you can get to brilliantfools.com and get, a couple of free resources or something if you want. Sales strategy, online, in-person partnerships. A lot of this is online and in person. So I've done it both ways. I haven't done partnerships yet. I would love to do that, but it's got to be done right. It's got to be done well. Just a word of caution as far as that's concerned. Operations plan. It's online. Everything can be done remote, but I can meet you in person, and it can be very good to meet in person. Key activities. So right now, the podcast and the blog, right? but other key activities are going to be the actual accounting that's being done. So the actual work that's being done is a key activity. The determination is that your key activity, or is that going to be a key activity for someone else? Right now, if I'm small enough and it's just me, okay, I'm going to wear most of the hats out there, if not all of them. But at what point do I need to contract that out and have somebody else do the bookkeeping so I can come back and I can work on the marketing side of things, right? I'm going to do marketing active. That's the podcast and blog. At what point am I going to come back and I'm going to do the back end things that I need to make sure all the records are kept well? At what point am I going to do the let's do your client relationship management. So the CRM stuff, making sure I'm talking with clients and sending out the questions and setting up meetings and things like that. Okay. So key activities, what is needed? I was going to say what all is needed, but if that's going to stop you from moving forward, don't put what all is needed. Or say, if you're a calendar person, see calendar. It's all going to be there. So that may be even easier. Key tools, technology needed. Like in my case, I need the bookkeeping software. I need the tax prep software. I need the website builders. I've got the video recording, so podcast equipment, certain things that you need, right? Now, if this is stuff, again, I'm going back now and writing all this. If I find there's something I don't have, this is where that comes into play here. Hey, I don't have this and I feel like I need it. Okay, there you go. So maybe I need something like a canopy or something that's going to be, which is basically a firm management type software. It manages your workflow. So maybe you need workflow software or something along those lines. So is there some sort of tools or technology you don't have that you need? If I'm doing remodel work, do I need I need a compound miter saw, and I need the drill driver and the impact drivers, and I need the sawzalls, and I need the maybe I need a Dremel and stuff like that to actually get some of the detail work done. Maybe so. Identify what are the tools, the key tools that you need that can't be done without, and make sure you have them, especially if you're about to get started. And then a team. Do you need any contractors? For me, not yet. But maybe marketing. Maybe I need to contract out some marketing, get some people to do that for me, right? And the reason I say that is because that's my weakest point. Marketing by far is my weakest area. What's it going to cost? Startup costs? It's already existing, so it's not applicable. Monthly expenses. Think of things, for me, it's going to be a lot, mostly it's software subscriptions. Okay. That is the biggest thing. But I'm going to put tax. So whatever tax I need to pay, I'm going to have that in there as a monthly expense for myself. But the more you can identify of what your monthly expenses are, and these are business expenses, so you may even want to put yourself as a monthly expense. So if you're paying yourself, go back to the personal side, say, hey, I need this much every month in order to survive. So my monthly expenses here are going to be, X number of dollars. I need to pay myself. Do you need to pay yourself $10,000 a month? Do you need to pay yourself $2,000 a month? What do you need? And it can be different depending on if you have other sources of income at the same time. What is your monthly expense? Revenue streams. This is important. I'm going to have, obviously, the bookkeeping, the tax. So that's like a subscription type thing. It's not really a subscription, but it kind of is. My goodness, my throat is going here. Thank you for bearing with me. Let me cough right into the microphone too. Lovely. But Do you have a subscription service? Do you have flat rates? I do. I have flat rates if you're just doing tax prep. I say flat rates. It's already built in. So every form has a flat rate. How much you have on that, I mean, it depends on how much you end up with the forms, right? But then do you have other revenue streams? I have a kid's book. Did you know that? I have a kid's book. Is that going to be a revenue stream for me? I don't know. That's a legitimate revenue stream. It has nothing to do with accounting. It's called Have You Ever Washed a Dinosaur? Have you ever washed a dinosaur? I use a pen name. It's play off my middle name, and my dad's name, but it's Charlie Green, and that's sold a few. I've sold some copies of that. It's not really a significant revenue stream that I can throw in the projected monthly income onto. If you're existing in the business, then that's probably easier to tell what your projected monthly income is. If you do not already have an existing business, honestly, this was difficult for me to figure out, and it still is. This is something that if you're asking me to figure out what your projected monthly income is, I can get to calculations if you already have expectations of what you're going to sell. I can calculate things for you. If you do not have those expectations, like I didn't have expectations for that at all when I started. I didn't know what the projected monthly income was going to be. I didn't even know how to start that, how to figure out what my expectations were. The important thing is, do not let it stop you. Please move on and go forward. Break-even point estimate for me, I mean, it's very, very small. In total, do you have even $100 of software that you have to buy every month? Is that going to be your break-even point? And I would try to break this down for a monthly estimate myself, personally. Yours may be different. If you're in the construction industry, you might have to break it down over quarters, or, I mean, maybe even if you're building things, your break-even might have to go over potentially years, multiple years, to identify it, even by project, maybe. So it could be different for your situation. All depends. And then as far as my milestones and next steps, the next 3 months, let's say I want to have a certain number of customers, okay? So that's going to be my next 3-month goals. Midterm goals, 6 to 12 months, maybe I want to have, certain number of $3, yeah. $3. Absolutely. $3 is my midterm goal. And then long-term vision. What do I want for my long-term vision? Over 1 to 3 years. I want a viable, sustainable business. My preference would be viable, sustainable with, let's say, with 6-figure revenues. Okay. So I don't know what's reasonable, and that can be adjusted. Do you have to have a long-term vision? I've heard yes, many, many times. And I'll tell you this, though. For me, trying to come up with a long-term vision is very difficult. It's very difficult for me to project that far into the future, knowing that God's already got it in his hands and he knows how things are going to go. Now, Scripture does say that a man plans his way, but God directs his steps. So there is something to that about us planning our way and just letting God direct the steps, and it'll go where it goes. But I know people who, in fact, most people that I know of in business, they did not project into the future at all when they got started. And that's one of the main things that I want to make a point of here is don't let the start stop you. And there's I think a famous coach that quote comes from. I don't remember, but don't let the start stop you. Just get going. If you need to get going, get going. If you are going, then continue on. However, if you feel like you're stuck and you're hitting that same wall over and over again, this is a great place to start if you haven't already done it. If you have already done it, go back and revisit it and see what you need to update in your business plan. Again, the way that I got to this business plan, there are so many different ones out there, so I'm not going to tell you there's a good way or a bad way. But I got to this one, this simple one I went over today in less than half an hour. I got to it in ChatGPT. I said, give me a simple business plan template. And it gave me a simple business plan template. Okay, great. Start with that. And be wise. If something's stopping you on this, if something's catching you, then move on. Move on to the next one. Come back to it. However, if you start to reveal some things, or if you can't even see what's going on, reach out. Reach out for good counsel. Okay? Good counsel. Godly counsel, wise counsel. This may come from unexpected places. This may come from your pastor or one of the pastors at your church. You might need it from there. I mean, it may come from someone who's a successful business person, but it may not. You know, it depends on how well they can speak to your particular situation. I want to get a little later in this week. I want to get to some of the asking versus questioning situations. So, is the advice that somebody's giving, is it starting to get accusatory? Is it starting to get more like they're questioning what it is that you're doing, and then you're questioning yourself, and that's not from God. Christ is going to bring hope, and you're going to have a confident expectation of something good coming from what you're doing in Christ. However, there may still be things that you need to change, you need to adjust, and that's fine. So if you need another set of eyes, I mean, I'm available for you to reach out to, and we'll have a chat. We'll have a call together. Go to greenhouseghs.com or brilliantfools.com. Reach out and let me know you want to talk, and we'll talk. But hopefully this has been helpful for you. Tried to keep it to under 25 minutes of actually going through the business plan. Talking through it takes a lot longer than just going through it. Don't overthink things. Get things down on paper first of all, and then go back, work out some of the details in the areas that you need to. I think it'll be a good guide for you. So have a great one, and I'll talk to you next time.